Good evening, welcome to the programme.
Tonight's main stories: the killer drink driver set for early release from prison despite new exemptions. The victim's family say they're furious.
It's just another kick in the teeth when we were already told he was going to be up for early release and then not. It's like the victims aren't actually listened to and that, we are just invisible.
Also tonight, floods in a drought. What the residents of this street woke up to this morning.
Plus, the businesses having to adapt to cope with this summer's heat waves.
And why the hot weather is also filling our hedgehog hospitals with new arrivals.
Good evening. First tonight, the sister of a 20-year-old woman killed by a drunk driver in Norfolk says she's filled with rage after finding out her sister's killer is still eligible for early release from prison.
Prime Minister Andy Burnham announced last night only people jailed for rape, serious child sex offences and grooming will be excluded from the controversial early release scheme.
That means Malcolm Waite, who was jailed for 8 years in 2022 after he killed Fenella Hawes while driving 4 times over the limit, could still be released as early as October. Lawrence Griffin reports.
Almost 4 years to the day, Rosie's sister Fenella was out picking sunflowers in Stalham when she was hit by a drunk driver. Malcolm Waite drove for another mile after killing Fenella Hawes, not realising he'd hit her. One police officer described him as the drunkest person he'd ever seen behind the wheel of a car. Now he could be released halfway into his 8-year sentence after a government announcement that will mean he remains eligible to be let out early.
I was very shocked. I must say I was probably filled with quite a lot of rage, which is not normal for me, but I was just overwhelmed with sadness and anger.
Last month, the Prime Minister decided to pause the government's early release scheme that was introduced in 2024 to ease pressure on overcrowded prisons. Andy Burnham announced last night that people jailed for rape, serious child sex offences and grooming would not be released early. That means those convicted of manslaughter and those, like Fenella's killer, convicted of causing death by dangerous driving, are still eligible for early release.
What sort of a message do you feel this sends to your family and the families of other people who have had loved ones who have been killed?
I don't think we've been treated with any sort of, care or respect, because no one's come forward and given us an explanation, and that's all we want is an explanation. I know that, he's got a short sentence. We've accepted that. We fought at the time to increase the sentence and failed then. So it's just like we keep failing, and they keep putting down my sister's life because they're not listening.
During a national radio interview this morning, the Justice Secretary, Alex Norris, said he would meet with Rosie to discuss her concerns.
Already, whether it's murderers or terrorists, 18,000 prisoners aren't eligible at all. We've now added to that. That means that people who've been convicted of rape, people who've been convicted of child sex offences, they're also now not included. Frankly, we wanted to go further, but we can't. If we do that, we will run out of capacity very, very quickly. So we had to make a judgment, and I know that's difficult. It's been very difficult, I know, for victims and their families to hear too, but we made the choices that we made, and that's the decision that we made.
All of my wider family do not want to see him in the street randomly, and it's such a scary thing to think that you could see his face, and so we need to be reassured about the way his release is going to be handled if this is going forwards.
The government says tougher restrictions will be placed on offenders who are released early, but families like Fenella's will still have to confront the reality that their loved one's killer could walk free in a matter of months. Lawrence Griffin, ITV News.
Well, next tonight, with all the talk of hosepipe bans and droughts, a water leak in Wisbech turned into a flood 2 weeks after residents said they reported it to Anglian Water.
This morning, people in Weasenham Lane woke up to find the water flowing past their homes and into their gardens. Engineers have been working on the site this afternoon, as Stuart Leeds reports.
About 2 weeks ago, we reported it. My next door neighbour, Sean, reported it. These have reported it. The next door has reported it.
The lady over there reported it. Come and put a paint mark, an arrow, and then went.
Water was still leaking out of the pavement this afternoon as Anglian water engineers worked to fix the leak on Weasenham Lane in Wisbech. But this was the scene that residents woke up to this morning, with a flood of water flowing past their homes and into gardens.
Well, it's frustrating that it was only a little leak, what probably could have been fixed easy. Now the whole road's caved in, and yeah, it's frustrating, especially when they're saying, oh, hose pipe ban, don't use so much water, and then they just let a ton of it turn into rubbish.
Their dogs Buddy and Daisy enjoyed a paddle in the garden, but Nadine and Trudy are angry that it's taken Anglian Water so long to start fixing the leak.
Well, if they'd fixed it 2 weeks ago, it would have took about a day. Very angry, because my garden was all flooded, all the road. It's terrible. You pay for your water, they should keep it properly.
It's left residents without a water supply to their homes. Martin also lives next to the site of the leak.
I just think that it's a waste of time ringing them up, because they say any important thing, ring us any time, 24/7. You ring them up and nothing's been done. Until now, they've got to do something, because it's caused an issue now, isn't it?
In a statement, Anglian Water has said, "We've now confirmed that this was caused by a burst water main in the Weasenham Lane area of Wisbech. Our teams responded quickly to isolate the burst, and customers who were affected have now had their water supply restored." With so much concern about the use of water during this very hot summer, residents here feel the small leak they reported 2 weeks ago should never have ended up as a flood of wasted water. Stuart Leiths, ITV News, Wisbech.
Some more of your day's news now, and bin and street cleaning workers in Great Yarmouth will go on strike later this week. That's according to Unite the Union. Around 100 from Great Yarmouth Services, a council-owned company, will strike from this Thursday to the 12th of August over pay. The council says Unite's pay demand was unaffordable.
2 teenagers from Essex who were involved in a series of burglaries and car thefts across 6 counties have been jailed. Suffolk Police said Callum Lackenby and Kana Yakut, who were both 18, were connected to an organised crime group. The pair committed more than 30 offences, many in Essex and Suffolk. They've been jailed for a total of 7.5 years.
Ed Sheeran has been fined after accidentally failing to insure his classic Aston Martin while it was being restored and converted to run on electricity. The Suffolk singer-songwriter handed over the car for an overhaul in 2021 and hasn't driven it since. But last December, the DVLA spotted Sheeran had not paid for insurance on the Aston Martin while the work was underway. The singer told magistrates he believed the workshop's insurance covered his car, but he was convicted of keeping a motor vehicle which does not meet insurance requirements and fined £666.
Now, with record temperatures over the past 2 months, many businesses across the region are having to adapt their practices to keep productive.
According to the Federation of Small Businesses, many companies have seen a rise in energy costs to keep their workplaces cool and a downturn in footfall as customers stay at home or head to the beach.
However, at the Saffron Ice Cream Company in Saffron Walden, they couldn't be happier, as Hannah Pettifer reports.
So we're making vanilla today. We're going to be making about 150, 160 of these 4-litre tubs and about 100 of these long Napoli tubs to keep up with demand.
And that demand for ice cream from Saffron Ice Cream Company has increased by around 20% compared to last year. From their base in Saffron Walden, they've had to take on extra staff to produce 4,000 litres of ice cream every week, the equivalent of 24,000 little tubs. And that's all because of the weather.
I mean, normally of a summer season, you get hotter weeks and cooler weeks, whereas, that's reflected in the sales. But this year, we've seen such prolonged week-by-week warm weather, and the sales haven't dipped. If anything, they're just increasing week on week.
The warm temperature's good for ice cream sales and for those wanting to cool down. At Go Ape, the outdoor adventure company, they've also seen an overall increase in visitor numbers.
We've seen probably visitors up 3 to 5% year on year across those first 2 weeks. On particular days when it is really hot, as I said, if we've got a location that's close to the coast, we do see numbers drop because people tend to go to the coast and to where there's water.
But what works for ice cream sales hasn't worked for all. With both June and July hitting record temperatures, for many it's been a tough environment to operate in. According to the Federation of Small Businesses, many companies have reported a fall in customer numbers. Outdoor tourism also taking a hit. And businesses like manufacturing now facing a rise in energy costs as they struggle to keep their workforce cool. But what's clear above all is that all workplaces have had to adapt.
If customers find it too hot or too cold, often they stay at home. Those businesses who are lucky to have air conditioning or outdoor space are often the winners, and those that don't, are really struggling.
Gemma Nackman runs a pet care service company in Colchester.
So that's great, because that's exactly the kind of thing that'll enrich a dog, rather than needing to be racing around the fields,
From dog walking and boarding to home visits, she's had to adapt her practice to keep the animals safe in the heat.
As soon as the weather gets hot, they'll get a message from me to say, we've got another hot spell coming, here are some options, and it might be, would they like an earlier walk? It might be that their dog has a shorter walk, or it might be that the weather's going to be so hot that day that we actually swap to a home visit.
Keeping dogs cool too is another market that Saffron Ice Cream has seen grow this year. A busy hot summer ahead, but one they're happy to work through while the sun's still shining. Hannah Pettifer, ITV News.
Ice cream and dogs in one report. What more could you want?
Was I the only one that wanted to put my head under that ice cream pipe? It was
Probably not.
Right, you're watching ITV News in the Anglia region. Here's what's still to come.
All's well that threads well. The football kit or club kit inspired by Shakespeare and a Norfolk theatre.
And after the driest July on record here in the east of England and a hot and humid day today, there's still no rain in the forecast, but it will turn a little fresher through tomorrow. Full details in 15 minutes.
Fresher, yes please. Now, new research suggests that criteria given to GPs to refer women at risk of breast cancer misses up to 95% of women under 50 who go on to develop the disease within a decade.
A study by the University of Cambridge found a new assessment tool identified 8 times more women at higher risk than the current guidelines, potentially allowing earlier treatment or prevention.
Well, joining us is Dr. Juliet Usher-Smith from the Department of Public Health and Primary Care at Cambridge University. Thank you so much for talking to us about this important topic today. Why, for a start, do you think the current guidelines miss so many women?
So a big part of that is because the current guidelines were developed to identify women who had a high risk of breast cancer because of a history in their family. And we know that in this age group, so we're talking about women under 50, that the majority of women, in our study it was just under 3/4, don't have a family history of breast cancer, those women who go on to develop breast cancer.
So tell us about your assessment tool then and what difference you hope it could make to younger women.
We're hoping that it's able to help us to identify these women who are at higher risk better than just using family history on its own. It does ask more questions, but also incorporates that polygenic risk, and it includes the high-risk genetic mutations, and it also has the possibility to include mammographic density, so that's the density of your breasts when they've been imaged, and so all these risk factors come together in this multifactorial risk model.
So your team found that using this new assessment tool, many more women were identified that would be at higher risk, because as you say, your inherited genes only play a very small part in all of this, don't they? So tell us, how can we be proactive? What are the main reasons women can go on to develop this disease?
So the main risk factors that we know about are reproductive risk factors. So when women have children, the age of that, they're hormonal risk factors. So have they had taken HRT or the contraceptive pill? And then also lifestyle factors, so their weight, as well as how much alcohol they drink and physical activity.
Right, so there are things we can do to obviously lower our risk, and I'm sure most of us know that. Lifestyle, obesity, alcohol intake, and you mentioned hormones there. That is a controversial one, isn't it? You mentioned the contraceptive pill, and there's HRT as well. Are you saying that taking those in some circumstances can raise your risk of getting breast cancer?
So under some circumstances, yes, it can do, and that's something that we include within our the risk assessment that we were doing in this study.
So the National Institute for Health and Care Excellence says the current evidence doesn't yet justify changing the guidelines. What would you say to that?
Really, we would say, as they revise their guidance, which I believe they're doing at the moment, to consider some of these other risk factors and how we might be able to do better in the future.
Dr. Usher Smith, thank you very much for talking to us today.
Thank you.
Now, as you heard at the top of the programme, changes to those eligible for early release from prison have been revealed, with the Prime Minister saying there will be tighter community supervision, like the use of electronic tags.
It's estimated there are currently more than 1,700 people in the East wearing such tags. But the government plans to expand the scheme to cover an extra 22,000 individuals from next year, either as a bail condition, the result of a court sentence, or as part of a monitoring order.
But the Parliamentary Spending Watchdog, the National Audit Office, says electronic monitoring is not working as intended, which could lead to the public being put at risk. Kevin Ashford has this.
They're seen as a way of keeping people out of custody and out of trouble. This is where it's going to go, round my ankle, where it's going to measure the alcohol in my sweat. This is when ITV News was given exclusive access to experience an alcohol detection tagging system aimed at monitoring offenders who've been banned from drinking by the courts.
It can also distinguish between drinking and environmental exposure to alcohols.
Well, since I filmed that, the whole tagging system, not just the alcohol detection part of it, has expanded. It's seen as a key part of government plans to ease pressure on the prison population. In fact, it's estimated that from next year, up to 22,000 extra individuals will be tagged every 12 months. Currently, it's estimated well over 1,700 people in the east of England are tagged, according to the latest government figures, either as a condition of their bail, the result of a court sentence, or as part of a monitoring order following release from prison. However, the whole tagging system has come under fire in a recent report by the Parliamentary Spending Watchdog, which highlighted, for instance, the number of cases where tags hadn't been fitted, despite court orders.
That means that they're not being supervised as intended. It could mean that they are more able to commit further offences, for example. And also, if there is not enough capacity to respond to breaches when they occur, that's obviously a concern as well.
Campaigners say the issues aren't just technological, the whole system is under pressure.
Tags are one small part, potentially as an alternative directly to prison, but without a probation service that is properly staffed and properly resourced, you can fit as many tags as you like, but unless there's a person at the other side to supervise and support the person, they're not going to change people's behaviour.
The government says public protection is a priority, which is why it's investing £100 million in electronic monitoring, tagging offenders before release for the first time, and strengthening victim protections via new alert systems. Alternatives to custody are seen as crucial to easing prison overcrowding, but those alternatives will face scrutiny to see if they're cost-effective and safe for the general public. Kevin Ashford, ITV News.
Now, a Cambridgeshire wildlife charity says it has been inundated with baby hedgehogs abandoned by their mothers who are too dehydrated to produce milk in the heat.
Yeah, Shepworth Hedgehog Hospital currently has a record 65 hedgehogs in total and can't accept any more until the weather cools enough to start releasing them. Emily Knight reports.
Come on, Paige. Paige arrived at Shepworth Wildlife Park last month, dehydrated and underweight. She joined a record number of hedgehogs here because they can't cope with the heat.
More so this year specifically because it is a lot hotter than normal. Obviously, without any rainfall, they struggle to find puddles to drink from. We give them fluids, we give them lots of fresh water that we change out every day, and wet cat food so they can sort of get that hydration while they're eating.
And how's Paige doing now?
Paige is doing much better. She's very confident and loves her food, as I think you can tell. We tend to wait until they're about 550 grams this time of year until we release them, just to make sure they, can sort of hold their own. So when she is that weight, hopefully she'll be good to go.
This summer, the team here has seen more hedgehogs arriving with heat-related symptoms than ever before. The hospital is now at capacity and they're having to wait to release even the hedgehogs that have recovered until it cools down. And when they do, with much of the summer still to go, they expect the space to fill again. Conservation specialist Rebecca Willers says although this year is a record, it may not be a one-off.
We always say traditionally if a hedgehog's out during the day, it's poorly. Actually, if a hedgehog's out during the day, it could just be desperately looking for water now. So if we're going to see this continuously, we might see a change in the pattern of behaviour of hedgehogs, and we are just going to keep finding them dehydrated. We can put water out, that's the first thing, so just a shallow dish of water. And we can also put food out, so wet food, cat food, dry food. They need their insects, their worms, their bugs, all these things, and of course we're not seeing many of them. And then the other thing, of course, is if you've found that you've got a pond that used to be up to a high level and it's no longer, the hedgehog gets in there, it won't get out and it will drown. So if you could put some ramps in there, that would be great too.
Paige and the other hedgehogs here are now cool and well cared for, but their collective future is less secure. Already threatened by changes to their habitat, now the shifting climate is posing yet more danger for those beloved garden visitors. Emily Knight, ITV News.
I love that they name them.
Yeah.
They care about them that much. They give
Got to
them
look after those hogs, haven't we? They look like they're being well cared for there, though, I think. Right, we've got something a bit different now, and we've got time for a bit of a quiz. Fingers on buzzers. I want you to see if you can find out what links these things. Ready? This storm is coming out of those times. That is, of course, Ghost Town by the Specials. It's not the song, but the record label we want there. Two-tone, that's the clue.
OK, well, next to a couple of pieces of art. If you're at home and you're shouting, that's René Magritte, you'd be right. Those are two of the works by the Belgian surrealist painter.
And staying with art, how about this painting, which featured in an exhibition at Cambridge's Fitzwilliam Museum? It's called An 18th Century Family, and it's by British-Nigerian artist Joy Labinjo. I'm going to be so impressed if anyone's got this.
Yeah, what is the link? Well, they all inspired football kits.
Of course they did.
Yeah, Two-Tone led to this shirt by Coventry City. Magritte was the inspiration behind this jersey, which the Belgian national side wore in the recent World Cup, while the Fitzwilliam painting inspired this top worn by Cambridge United.
Well, now we can add another one to the list. Non-league Kings Lynn Town have joined in with this new Shakespeare-inspired away kit. The stripes are a nod to the timber wooden floor found in St George's Guildhall, and that's the oldest theatre in the UK, thought to be where the bard himself once trod the boards. And Tim Fitzhyam, the theatre's creative director, said he was delighted with the team-up.
Shakespeare was the greatest player, some would say, in history, and now the Kings Lynn team football players have got the stage that he played on their T-shirts. So that's really amazing.
That is nice, isn't it? Shakespeare would be happy.
It's amazing, and if you got that right, you are a genius.
Yes.
Absolute genius. Well done.
I didn't get it right. And I can see the auto cue.
Yeah. Stick to the Weather Word Wednesdays, I reckon.
You were sent an amazing video you're going to share, Chris.
Yeah, incredible video. So on Saturday, a lovely lady, Robin, sent me this on Facebook. Now, it often gets mistaken for a tornado, but this is actually known as a dust devil. It forms where the sun heats the ground then heats the air rapidly rises, and you get a little bit of spin on that. You get this lovely little vortex that forms, and as that travels over dry ground, it picks up dust, sand, and therefore you get to see it in its form, which is known as a dust devil. Now, it doesn't last as long as a tornado. They are quite rare, but not as rare as you think, because after all the dry weather that we've seen, all the hot weather, it's actually a little bit more common at this time of year. So yeah, next time you see one, it's a dust devil. It's not a tornado, because you need a cloud, and it forms from the cloud to the ground for a tornado. And with a dust devil, it forms from the ground up.
I can't promise I'm going to remember that. It has been so just dusty and dry out there, though.
So dusty and dry. And looking back at July, which was the driest July that we've seen on record here in the east of England, only 5% of the average amount of rainfall, 2.5 millimetres in the whole of the time that we've been recording weather records, which is 190 years. It's the fourth driest month ever reported on the whole of that. It's the second hottest and the second sunniest, with a maximum temperature of 35.2. But today, well, we've seen 32.3, which is the warmest day so far this August. It could still get hotter into next week. Here's the data.
Greater Anglia sponsors ITV Anglia Weather.
So yes, once again, it has been another hot and fairly humid day through this afternoon. Temperatures today reached up to 32 degrees Celsius, although we're just waiting for those final figures to come in. Plenty of sunshine across the eastern side of the patch, although a touch more cloud did start to roll its way in from the west. And where the cloud has been thick enough, there has been the odd very isolated splash of rain, but for most it has been a largely dry day. That's because low pressure is just hovering across the northern half of the country, but high pressure once again builds in as we go through the remainder of the week. So there's still no significant rain in this week's forecast, and it stays fairly warm once again by the weekend too. So as for this evening and overnight, well, after having a hot and humid day today, notice the showers in the west, they just fizzle out and lose their momentum as they work eastwards. One or two of us may just see the odd splash of rain, but the majority will be dry tonight, and temperatures once again won't drop lower than 18 to near 19 Celsius. So uncomfortable night for sleeping tonight, but we start Wednesday morning with a bit more cloud around. That cloud will eventually break up to reveal more sunshine by the afternoon, but it's a weakening cold front that clears the hot and humid air to the east. A much fresher feel through tomorrow. Temperatures coming in the range of 24 to 25 Celsius, back into the mid-70s of Fahrenheit. Now here are times of high water for tomorrow. Looking at Southwold, there at 3:37 tomorrow morning, and again there at 3:27 tomorrow afternoon. As for Thursday, bright spells at first, a northwesterly breeze, a little bit brisk at times, but will start to just increase the cloud as we work through the day. Could again be thick enough in places to produce the odd splash of light rain, but again, the majority of us will get away with a dry day, and temperatures just sliding down slightly into the low 20s, more typical for this time of year. Look at that, Thursday night into Friday, temperatures into mid-single figures, but then warming up again and dry into the weekend. Take care.
Greater Anglia sponsors ITV Anglia Weather.
Do I spy a little green number there?
What does that mean, Chris?
The mid-single figures on Thursday night, that will be a real welcome, really. Get the duvet back out.
Yes.
Just for a
Shut the fans away.
Thanks, Chris.
Cheers.
And thank you. See you tomorrow.
Bye.
Bye for now.